Live from the Hilton Resort in beautiful Barbados, welcome to the opening ceremony of the 7th Annual Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum. This year's theme is From Dependence to Resilience, Fueling Our Recovery with Sustainable Energy. Please stand for the national anthem.
Honorable Minister Kerry Simmons, Minister of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship in Barbados. Excellency Ambassador Lillian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada to Barbados and the OECS. Mr. Andrew Gittins, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Deputy Secretary General, CARICOM Secretariat, Dr. Armstrong Alexis, Mr. James Husband, our CARICOM Energy 2021 award recipient. And I also see from the CARICOM Development Fund, my friend, Mr. Rodinal Sumo, other invited distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 7th CARICOM Sustainable Energy Forum 2021. I would now like to invite Ms. Sherry-Ann Farquharson, Capacity Development Expert, Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to bow your heads with me as I pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to participate in the work of moving the Caribbean from dependence to resilience. We thank you for how you have blessed us as a region and as professionals in this space to contribute to this important work. We invite your presence throughout this afternoon and throughout the week's proceedings. We ask that things will be done well and done in order. And at the end of the week, we ask that we will have the opportunity to claim the success of another well-delivered and not just a talk shop, but that we will have answers, we will have solutions, and that we will see our region move to even more independence. Thank you again for this opportunity, Lord, to participate in this work, and may things proceed well and in order. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you very much. I now invite you to remain seated as we have the CARICOM song.
From many distant lands, our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play. We relate to each other the West Indian way. Today as a people united, determined and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon, the future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow. Naki your drum, CARICOM. Tabu ya tabu, awo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow. Hele, hele. Tabu ya tabu, awo. Naki your drum, CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow.
Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Salas Hamilton from the CARICOM Secretariat, CSME Unit. I also recognize the presence of the Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados and the OECS, Excellency Malgorzata Vasilevska. Welcome. I now invite the Deputy Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Armstrong Alexis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Mr. James Husbands, recipient of the 2021 CARICOM Energy Achievement Award. Honorable Kerry Simmons, Minister of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship of Barbados. Other honorable ministers participating and following today's event online. Her Excellency Malgorzata Vasilevska, Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados and the OECS, as well as CARICOM. Her Excellency Lilian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada to Barbados and the OECS. Other members of the diplomatic corps present at the Hilton and those following virtually. Dr. Gary Jackson, Executive Director of the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. Mr. Rodinal Suma, the Executive Director of the CARICOM Development Fund. Other institution heads present today, representatives of member states of the Caribbean Community, regional institutions, and other international development partners, representatives of civil society, academia, and the private sector, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the 7th edition of the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum. Let me start by conveying best wishes from our Secretary General, Dr. Carla Barnett, who is unable to be with us today and has sent her greetings and has asked me to deliver those few remarks on her behalf. I am therefore honored to be standing here and to welcome you to this very auspicious event. The forum, which is commonly referred to as the CSEF, is a biannual event which has been consistently convened in the Caribbean since 2008. In exploring ways to ensure greater relevance, the decision was made since the 4th CSEF in 2014 to anchor this event into an agenda of the then CARICOM Energy Week, which was observed annually since 2011 and during the second week of November. Given the successes of CARICOM Energy Week, member states determined that more time should be dedicated to this event. And since 2016, CARICOM Energy Month has been commemorated in November of each year. Ladies and gentlemen, the 7th CSEF was first scheduled to be held in 2020, but as you would imagine, a postponement had to be effected due to the prevailing circumstances brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. The hosting of this 7th CSEF this year is another testament of the resilience of our people and the entities such as the CARICOM Secretariat and the institutions of the region at the regional level, and the ministries and agencies at national levels that support the regional movement. Our previous CSEF also serves as a harbinger for our resilience. That event was to be held in Nassau, Bahamas in November 2016, but owing to the passage of the Category 5 Hurricane Matthew in October of that year, we had to rally our collective forces and in fine form, the 5th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum was eventually held in the Bahamas, but in January 2017. In fact, some argue that CSEF 5 was one of the most successful editions of the event to date. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, these disruptions from hydrometeorological to epidemiological serve as reminders that CARICOM countries continue to face unparalleled vulnerabilities, which oftentimes stymie progress and derail development. Our size, physical separation, narrow resource and export base, among other things, in the majority of instances, expose us to external shocks. This 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum comes at a time when the region is on a knife's edge. Our countries are continuing to grapple with the balancing the risks posed by COVID-19 to the health and safety of citizens with the socio-economic disruptions that are caused by the measures implemented to curb its spread. In many instances, COVID-19 cases across the region continue to rise, and countries go through various waves of contagion. The pandemic has brought the vulnerability of the region to extreme events into sharp focus. The current crisis is clearly interlinked with many of our other vulnerabilities as a region. We believe that with the solutions set at our disposal, energy sits at the very center. Energy is inextricably linked to the connecting of the region's sustainable development agenda and to ensure that we can battle climate change. There is increasing acceptance that the transition towards low-carbon energy pathway can support the integration of climate resilience and mitigation into national development, but there is acceptance too that the most critical gaps remain. Perhaps a deeper integration between the climate and energy segments within our societies can serve to optimize opportunities for the financing of sustainable energy projects from the various multilateral trust funds and bilateral agreements on climate financing. Ladies and gentlemen, this could increase the potential for the region to realize and to embark upon the necessary investments in sustainable energy technologies and the application where required for the attainment of the sector's goals and targets, recognizing that some goals and targets, especially those that are linked to climate adaptation, are public sector obligations as well. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the economies of CARICOM member states are mostly dependent on environmental services and are already being negatively affected by climate change, and in particular, rising sea levels. Climate models indicate that the countries will experience significant economic loss through significant damage and coastal infrastructure, large population displacement, and substantial shift in the available maritime resources. Even average global temperatures are kept at the SEEDS approved or advocated 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. There is also greater cognizance that many modern technologies, from utility scale and rooftop solar to utility scale wind to battery storage and electric vehicles, can introduce greater flexibility into the regional power systems. System flexibility is critical for the electric utilities to manage system shocks, such as the sudden demand reduction that was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, in a cost-effective way. The understanding, therefore, that the member states are continuing to seek innovative ways to pursue renewable energy ambitions, despite the potential challenges posed by the emerging fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, within the next few years, a large wave of energy infrastructure investment will be required in the sector for us to simultaneously replace aging, inefficient power plants and transmission and distribution systems with more modern, efficient alternatives, whilst increasing the available generation capacity and grid flexibility. If done judiciously, this will give our countries a chance to build robust, flexible energy systems that are able to survive, to adapt, and in fact, to grow. In response to the sudden disruptions caused by external events, and shall serve the sustainable development needs of our people for decades to come. Rather than putting the pursuance of renewable energy on the back burner, the pandemic has aided us to understand the urgency of addressing this issue. Energy systems are indispensable to the pursuit of our economic agenda. As we seek to reopen our productive sectors and to maximally re-engage the drivers of our economy, it is important that the way in which our energy should be accessed and used should be linked to a resilient system design that is flexible and adaptive to the threats posed by the multiplicity of external events such as climate, hydrometeorological, and epidemiological shocks. Let me conclude by once again welcoming you to the 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum, which is being held under the theme From Dependence to Resilience. Let us use the coming days to take stock of progress and to realign our collective efforts towards the goal of building a prosperous and resilient Caribbean community, starting with the energy sector. I wish all of you a productive set of conversations, and I look forward to joining you throughout the rest of this week. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alexis Armstrong. We now have remarks from the Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados and the OECS. Excellency, please.
Thank you so much, Master of Ceremonies. I'd like to acknowledge Honorable Prime Minister Mia Mottley, Honorable Minister Kerry Simmons, Deputy Secretary General of the CARICOM Secretariat, Dr. Armstrong Alexis, Your Excellency Lillian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada, dear friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all the distinguished participants to today's event. A very good afternoon to you all. What a pleasure it is to see some of you in person for the launch of the 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum. No headphones, no screens, no pixels. Finally, we get a chance, at least some of us, to meet as real people and able to discuss again face to face. I'm sure we have all longed for this moment to come back. If this pandemic managed to keep us at a distance, change our habits, and severely affect our societies, it has not managed to shake our determination, our commitments to a better future for a healthier planet. The fact that we're all here, national and regional representatives, government, private sector, and partners, to open the works of this important regional forum speaks for itself. Disasters, come and go. They leave scars and add to the burden of the Caribbean societies. But the societies of this region rise again, stand strong, and continue their road towards a better future for the next generations. This is the very definition of the concept of resilience. But how long will it last until this resilience is worn out? How long before everyone will hear the message of those on the front line, the small island developing states? The COP in Glasgow has shown that things are going in the right direction, but definitely not at the right speed. I am very proud that the European Union has joined its voice to the one of the SIDS to urge all nations to engage without delay on the path of carbon neutrality. We all understand that this cannot be done without sacrifice and without the difficult change in mindsets, but the cost of non-action or even of slow action at this point will be paid hundredfold by our children. We all heard the passionate speech of Prime Minister Motley, and I think many have quoted from her speech already. I will just quote one little piece. It is enough talking. We need action now. And this action has to be swift and efficient transition to carbon neutrality and environment sustainability. And this is why we are here today, as sustainable energy production is the key element of this transition. In Europe, the green transition has also started to shape the economies by promoting circularity and sustainability, to shape societies by adapting the education system and increasing citizen responsibility towards the environment, and to shape mentalities, changing consumption patterns and adapting it all to the digital era. One thing is clear for all of us: there is no way back. The world goes forward, and the global political consensus pointing in this direction was already taken in Paris, now many years ago. But that political decision is nothing without the private sector and the citizens' buy-in to make the necessary adjustments, to adapt and to contribute. The EU and the Caribbean share a common goal in achieving a transition to clean energy. We know from experience how hard it is to make the right investments, to change legislations, to change professional profiles, to shake mentalities, and still to go on. Through trial and error, together, we will reach a result that we know from overwhelming scientific evidence to be the good one, not only for us, but also for the generations to come and for the world in which they will live. In the same spirit, I would like to wish that your discussions at this forum become actions as fast as possible, and that these actions will be able to change the future of the Caribbean, which I am sure will lead by example on the path to carbon neutrality. And we will do everything in our power to accompany you on that road. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I now invite Excellency Lillian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada to Barbados and the OECS. Excellency.
Good afternoon. With protocols already established, I'm going to dive into my speech. The High Commission of Canada is pleased to partner with the CARICOM Secretariat on the 7th iteration of the CARICOM Sustainable Energy Forum, especially on the heels of COP26. Forging partnerships with both the public and private sectors in Barbados and across the Caribbean is an essential part of Canada's engagement in the region, and we continuously look for opportunities to further strengthen the ties between Canada and the CARICOM. Like the Caribbean, Canada is on a journey of energy transition. Historically, Canada's economy is reliant on natural resources, with oil and gas extraction and mining as major sources of revenue. As a significant oil and gas producer with diverse economic and regional interests, it is not easy for Canada. But earlier this year, Canada released its ambitious new commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030, as well as a commitment to reach net zero by 2050. At COP26, Canada announced an enhanced plan to support global phase-out of thermal coal, help developing countries transition to clean fuel alternatives as quickly as possible, and to reduce pollution in the oil and gas sector. However, the carbon intensity of these industries has taken a toll on the world. So as global trends changed, we have reprioritized, and Canada has been working with international partners to ensure that we make a meaningful contribution to the global energy transition. We know that our carbon footprint, energy mix, and primary employment sectors must change to stem the impact of greenhouse gas emissions. This, in addition to our inherent entrepreneurial spirit and a government that is planning and investing for a cleaner economy, has led to Canada developing one of the world's most competitive, thriving clean tech industries. This is an industry that is relevant in the Caribbean context and through which significant benefits can rebound to the region if we persist with this collaborative approach on the energy transition. Canada's clean energy sector's GDP is projected to grow by 58% by 2030. This ambitious trajectory is due in part to new policies set out in the Canadian government's recent climate plan entitled A Healthy Environment and a Healthy Economy, which commits to setting aside $15 billion for investment in clean growth and infrastructure. Our government has estimated the market opportunity for the clean tech industry to be more than $2.5 trillion and has already invested more than $1 billion in clean tech companies. Another major contribution to the growth of the energy sector in Canada is the willingness and desire to partner and export outside Canada. The Canadian clean tech industry currently employs approximately 400,000 people, and employment in the energy sector is expected to increase by almost 50% by 2030. The social benefits of the move towards a cleaner energy system certainly cannot be underestimated, and we believe neither can the importance of developing symbiotic relationships to accelerate and strengthen energy resilience. Canada is therefore well positioned to assist CARICOM member states with the transition to energy independence. Whether your interest is in land-based or offshore energy, solar, wind, waste to energy, hydrogen, or any other forms of renewable energy, energy efficiency or energy storage, there are products, services, technologies, and general expertise on which you can capitalize. Canadian companies have been making positive impacts on the global energy market and are keen to do the same in the Caribbean. I am pleased to say that the High Commission of Canada has worked closely with the CARICOM Secretariat to identify the providers of some of the solutions most applicable to the Caribbean. These providers are eager to reach out to many of you during the business-to-business session on Thursday. We recognize that Caribbean SIDS are highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and other external economic shocks, including fuel price variability. Reducing reliance on fossil fuels in the islands is therefore not just about reducing carbon emissions, but also about economic resilience. Through our regional development program, Canada has already been providing assistance to the region in this area. In 2016, Canada and the Caribbean Development Bank established Canadian support to the energy sector in the Caribbean Fund of $5 million to support the development of sustainable energy in the region. Since then, Canada is working with the CDB, providing regulatory support and strengthening the enabling environment, promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency, and strengthening capacity through training. Canada's support of the Eco-Micro project for $7.2 million with the Inter-American Development Bank is working in 7 Caribbean countries to help financial institutions and their customers become more climate resilient. The project is designing and implementing green financial products to increase investment in renewable energy and energy efficiency by small businesses and households. In addition, the recently launched Canada CARICOM Expert Deployment Mechanism can be used to access Canadian technical assistance in a wide range of sectors, including energy, and I'm pleased to inform you, Minister, that we advocated successfully to include an eligibility of Barbados. I close by urging us all to collaborate for the health of our planet, but also for the health of our intertwined economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. High Commissioner. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce Ms. Khadija Usher, our Energy Policy Associate at the CARICOM Secretariat. Khadija.
Good afternoon. It takes a truly inspiring level of dedication to commit to a cause for 47 years, particularly when that cause began as a mere idea for a solution to a serious crisis, the 1973 global oil embargo and supply shock. In that regard, James Husbands, Managing Director of Solar Dynamics Limited, is perhaps the chairman of the Club for Reliable Dedication to Sustainable Energy within not only the Caribbean, but the world at large. Since 1974, Mr. Husbands has led Solar Dynamics from its start as a small company offering a much-needed energy alternative at a time when traditional energy prices increased tenfold to a world leader in solar energy heating technology. Along the way, and through the kinds of challenges that would have doomed many other companies, he steered his team towards innovations that have helped to position Barbados among the top 3 leading nations in the world for penetration of solar hot water systems. From the integration of copper pipes and aluminum heat absorbers to fusion bonding, safety-tempered glass, and push-fit plumbing technology, Mr. Husband's innovative spirit has served as a guiding principle for his company throughout its lifetime. The Solar Dynamics hot water system is also the world's first system to carry a temperature guarantee, leading Barbados to become the #1 country in the world in thermal performance rating. Yes. In addition to all of this, Mr. Husbands has dedicated himself to guiding others interested in entering this segment of the sustainable energy industry, doing work and providing training in no less than 60 nations across the region, including his home country, Barbados. With such a history of accomplishments, it's no surprise that Mr. Husbands has been the recipient of a number of awards in recognition of his tireless efforts, including Barbados's Gold Crown of Merit, the Pioneer Award from the World Renewable Energy Congress, and the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence in Science and Technology. He has also received an honorary LLD doctorate from the University of West Indies and is an honorary member of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers. It is in this spirit, the spirit of recognizing his exemplary entrepreneurial vision and innovative approach towards sustainable energy development, that CARICOM Energy, which embodies the energy unit of the CARICOM Secretariat, as well as the competent regional and national authorities on energy, recognize and celebrate Mr. James Husbands during the 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum, in particular, the CARICOM Energy Month 2021 in general. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Please join me in welcoming the CARICOM Energy Month 2021 award recipient, Mr. James Husbands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Mr. Minister, Honorable Kerry Simmons, Your Excellencies, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Small Business, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank the CARICOM Secretariat for honoring me and the work of our teams over the years. I'm indeed feeling very blessed to be so honored. This evening I want to share take a few minutes to talk about the work we've done and to thank those who have been involved in this journey. I want to thank the governments and people of Barbados for their support over the years, whether it has been projects such as Oxnard's London-born Towers, in other words, the low and middle income housing projects of government, or contracts as far as U.S. Virgin Islands. We even did a job for the embassy in Cuba at some time. So we've worked right through the Caribbean. We did a demand-side management project for the power company in Jamaica, including Taylor and Chancellor Halls at the University of the West Indies at Mona. And so we've had quite a varied career. We've worked throughout the Caribbean. And perhaps I need to, on behalf of the solar thermal industry, to engage you for just a couple of minutes on the ability of the thermal side of solar to add great value. This year, Barbados will save 150,000 barrels of oil as a result of the 50,000 solar water heaters installed in Barbados. That means there's 200,000 kilowatt hours of energy will be saved by domestic and commercial users by way of accreditation, USAID has done research on the industry and has deemed the solar water heating industry in Barbados as the most successful application of renewable energy in the Caribbean. Similarly, United Nations Environmental Program did some research as it relates to the hospitality industry and the ability of solar thermal to satisfy the needs of our visitors, especially those who have a high demand for hot water. And they chose a project in St. Lucia as well as one in Barbados. The Turtle Beach Resort in Barbados and Bay Gardens Hotel in St. Lucia had equipment of 17 years and 20 years, respectively, installed. They reported independently on a satisfaction rate of 95 to 100% and a return on investment of 40 to 45% annually on the solar thermal systems installed. What makes the difference between a solar thermal system and our sister, the PV system, is that we deliver energy at an efficiency rate of 80%. In other words, the lowest space on your roof or on your project will yield you 4 times the efficiency of our good friend PV. Now, where do we go with asking the PV manufacturers to increase their efficiency? If you can raise the efficiency of PV to 40% instead of 20%, you'll need half the space you need, or you produce twice the amount of energy. And so the big difference between solar thermal and solar photovoltaics is that we deliver at 4 times the level of efficiency. Now, why should we be neglected in our markets? Why should someone consider using PV to heat water? Why should, in the circumstance where we're saying we will give you a temperature guarantee, the first in the world, the very first in the world, that you would want to buy an electric water heater, when in actual fact you can make a 40 to 45% return on investment? If I sound as though I'm selling, yes I am. I have to. That's my lifeblood. So, across the Caribbean, we've done work. We have third-party recommendations. And in actual fact, if you think in terms of our friends in Panama, Panama has just been given $20 million to develop an industry to replicate the industry in Barbados. Can you imagine? So, this is not the first third country that has looked at Barbados as a model. I've also read a proposal for the Bahamas, which recommends adopting the Barbados Solar Dynamics model to produce 50,000 solar water heaters for the Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, we have delivered, and we can deliver more. And I hope that we will have the opportunity so to do. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Husbands. Don't leave it. I'll be more than happy to take it home.
Thanks.
No problem. Once again. We'll now have a video presentation from Dependence to Resilience.
Dependence to resilience is a good way of describing the energy transition. So when we say dependence, it's really about where we are. And when we talk about resilience, it's thinking about where we need to be with our energy future.
So we're moving from this idea of dependence on high-cost imported fossil fuels to having a future of energy that is more sustainable, energy systems that are more resilient. And ultimately, the goal is truly to provide a higher quality of life for us as Caribbean citizens.
Just by doing that, by hedging our situation against volatility and so on, we are making ourselves that much more resilient against potential shocks.
In order to move from dependence to resilience, you need to have a driver, you need to have a navigator who is aware of what the roadmap is. The CARICOM Energy Unit really serves as the navigator as we think about a transition, a sustainable and resilient transition. CARICOM Energy Unit has a toolkit. And I like to think of the toolkit or the roadmap along this transition as being super integral to ensuring that we meet our targets and our goals. In particular, we have the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Roadmap and Strategy, or CSERMS, and that really helps us to have a baseline, so develop specific targets for the member states and for the region as a whole. Energy is truly at the heart of development, and we help to develop the strategy. We have the roadmap, and we're able to truly guide member states along this transition to move us from this idea of dependence to resilience.
Providing the technical assistance, providing the know-how, finding the partner funding, I think that's how we move the needle towards resilience. CARICOM Energy contributes to the energy evolution and the energy change in terms of moving towards resilience by providing 1, equipment, 2, funding. Now, they don't do it by themselves, they go with partners. So for instance, GIZ was a major partner in funding our program. But most importantly, I found the Technical Assistance Program for Sustainable Energy in the Caribbean, TAPSIC, to be the mechanism that allowed us to make the change. Partnerships are important, and I don't think we could have reached where we've reached or reach where we would like to reach without talking about the partnerships.
For example, having experts on attachment in some key agencies in CARICOM member states to develop the guidelines, to develop the procedures that are necessary, and to build capacity within these institutions. Every country seems to be developing their own legislation, but I think at this stage we can have a harmonized legislation. We have similar landscape, although we may have differences in the structure of electric companies. Our experiences are similar. So I think at this stage there can be some harmonization of the legislation, guidelines, and all of that, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So essentially, these national level policies, strategies, and plans need to align with the regional energy policy and plan. And we need to be able to exploit our synergies and really have some regional treatment of the actions that will allow us as a CARICOM region to have a comparative advantage versus having a country alone or member state alone approach. And taking this approach is truly advantageous for accelerating this shift from dependence to resilience.
I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate CARICOM Energy for continuing to lead within the Caribbean. And as you have not your first, your third, or your fifth, but your 7th actual conference, I think it's an opportunity for all of you there to network, to discuss, to share ideas. I think it's an opportunity for us to see how each other have grown and can grow. And I wish for you all the very best. My only doubt is that I can't be there, but perhaps on the 8th, I will be there. Congratulations, and I know you will have a good conference.
That's the CARICOM Energy Forum video, from dependence to resilience. Lovely. I also say welcome to those who are following us online. had some comments from some colleagues as to why I'm texting because they are watching us. That is how I get the directions from the producer to my phone. So it's not because this is a boring presentation. But welcome to all of you across the globe who are joining us here this afternoon. We now have a cultural item from saxophonist. I'm proud to welcome and introduce to you Mr. Arturo Tapin. Tempted. That's the Jerusalem dance. Yes. Mr. Arturo Tapin there, and I now have great pleasure in introducing to you Honorable Kerry Simmons, Minister of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship here in Barbados. Mr. Simmons.
Mr. Andrew Gittins, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, other ministers of member states of CARICOM, Dr. Armstrong Alexis, Deputy Secretary General of the CARICOM Secretariat, Your Excellency Malgorzata Wasilewska, Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean States, and CARICOM and CARIFORUM, Your Excellency Lillian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada to Barbados and CARICOM, Excellency Ute Konig, Ambassador of Germany to Trinidad and Tobago and CARICOM, Dr. Gary Jackson, Executive Director, Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, Dr. Devon Gardner, Program Manager, Energy CARICOM Secretariat, Mr. Robert Bermudez, Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Mr. James Husbands, recipient of the CARICOM Energy Achievement Award and Managing Director of Solar Dynamics. And let me take the opportunity, sir, to offer you my own personal congratulations. Other specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, all. Good evening. Let me begin by thanking the CARICOM Secretariat for inviting Prime Minister Motley to address you, and in view of her inability to participate this afternoon, for condescending very graciously to allow me to deliver the keynote address at this 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum. The theme for this forum is From Dependence to Resilience, Fueling or Recovery with Sustainable Energy. And this forum is being held on the heels of another conference that concluded today, which is the Barbados Sustainable Energy Conference. And that conference carried a similar theme of championing our future to a sustainable energy sector. The common thread between these two conferences is the recognition that sustainable development, whether it consists of alternative or renewable energy, must now, and perhaps more than ever, be at the forefront of the process of transformation of our regional economies. This transformation will only occur through a revolution of our energy sectors. Our small, open, and vulnerable economies are particularly sensitive to the disequilibrium and the volatility caused by the impact of rising global temperatures. This, coupled with our geographic predisposition of being exposed to sudden and disastrous exogenous shocks, including natural disasters, places us all on the front line in the fight against climate change. Equally significantly, perhaps, is the fact that we are also vulnerable to the wavering international financial commitments for the mitigation and adaptation strategies which the world must adopt. These strategies are necessary for our protection and for that of our communities and for the very way of life to which we have become accustomed. Recently in Glasgow, during Conference of the Parties 26, Prime Minister Motley was given a platform to speak on behalf of small countries and those most vulnerable to the effects of the climate crisis. At that time, she was able to highlight the three major gaps facing small island developing states such as Barbados and our CARICOM neighbors. She was therefore able to draw attention to, first of all, the shortfall in the mitigation commitments captured in all of the submitted nationally determined contributions. Secondly, she focused attention on the shortfall in adaptation efforts. And third, she focused attention on the shortfall in what has been committed to finance the efforts of small island developing states across the globe as they seek to counter the reality of a rapidly warming planet. And even though Barbados now has two nationally determined contributions submitted in fulfillment of the Paris Agreement, and while each one was deemed upon presentation as being ambitious, commendable, and thorough, we know as a country that our contribution to greenhouse gases can at best only be considered as being exceptionally negligible. Despite this reality, we strive to present to the international community an example of what can be achieved with political commitment and with a willingness to transform a sector that is absolutely critical to the survival of any developing economy. Our position in 2015 was one whereby Barbados intended to achieve an economy-wide reduction in greenhouse gases emissions of 44% compared to our business as usual scenario by 2037. In absolute terms, this translated to a reduction of 23% compared with the baseline year 2008. At the time, the interim target was to achieve an economy-wide reduction of 37% of greenhouse gases compared to its business as usual scenario by 2025, equivalent to an absolute reduction of 21% compared to 2008. On the road to achieving these targets, Barbados brought into effect our national energy policy and its accompanying implementation plan, which, as you may by now all be aware, captures the plans and the initiatives intended to guide us along the road to transformation of the energy sector here in this country. Having set bold and some say heroic targets, in the execution of this policy, we have had to come to acknowledge the daunting nature of the work involved. Today, with almost 60 megawatts of installed renewable energy currently on the national grid and 5 megawatts of storage, we have approximately 10% of Barbados's electricity production being generated by renewable energy sources. Going into the Conference of the Parties 26, as a commitment fulfilled under the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, Barbados put forward an even more ambitious international target premised on an anticipated cross-sectoral set of achievements that include updated conditional mitigation contributions for 2030. And these consist of, first, a 95% share of renewable energy in the electricity mix. Secondly, a 100% electric or alternatively fueled vehicle fleet across the nation. Third, a 20% increase in energy efficiency across all sectors in the Barbados economy. And fourth, a 29% decrease in industrial, commercial, and residential fuel consumption. And fifth, a 20% decrease in waste emissions. It is important to note that conditional commitments are those conditions which can only be met with the assistance from international donor agencies. And as our Prime Minister had cause to point out a few weeks ago, the failure of the international community to provide financing for mitigation and adaptation will be measured in countries such as ours in CARICOM in terms of life and in terms of livelihoods. As I present this keynote address to open the 7th Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum, I want to impress upon all gathered here today the timeliness of this initiative. When last you met in Belize in 2018, the conversation at the time focused on a need for not only clean energy, but also turned on good governance and on sound regulations. Shortly thereafter, Barbados in 2019 committed to a full transformation of our energy sector by the year 2030. We acknowledged at that time that regulations and good governance would be critical. But in that same year, climate finance internationally available declined by a sum of 25%. So although we continue to speak of sustainable energy with great conviction, Barbados aiming to be 100% powered from alternative sources of energy by 2030, we say so knowing full well that our existence, in fact our very survival, requires nothing less than draconian do-or-die approaches in order to achieve this target. However, I want to say to you that Barbados is very lucky, and indeed so too are the countries represented here today. And I say this because with all that has occurred within the realm of energy and the sustainable transformation of our economies, the CARICOM Energy Program has been leading from the front with their continuous and unstinted efforts to cater specifically to the betterment of all the countries that it represents. We are guided as a region by the principles of the CARICOM Energy Policy, which was developed to coordinate and expedite the increased use of renewable energy and energy efficiency. This promotes, among other things, a coordinated approach to exploring and establishing an institutional framework for leveraging financing mechanisms for the development of viable energy sources. Permit me to urge, on behalf of the Barbados government, that the region must also be cognizant of the commitments in the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Roadmap and Strategy, the so-called CSERMs, which proposes a set of aggregated regional targets for electricity generation from renewable energy sources in the amount of 47% by the year 2027. We must therefore urge that each member state now explore and exploit the available renewable options unique to each of our own countries. I will be the first to acknowledge that it has been difficult in recent times to align the needs of the many so as to achieve the objectives of the CARICOM energy policy with respect to the leveraging of financing. It is in this regard that I believe that concerted approaches, such as the high-level meeting on energy finance between CARICOM and our international development partners, which sought to bring together the region as a lobbying body and present a portfolio of priority initiatives, programs, projects, and activities consisting of an informed mix of investment and technical assistance actions, all on the basis of a common CARICOM-wide proposal, can do much to raise international awareness of the needs of the region. This approach, which is led by CARICOM, saw the region compiling a proposal of $25 million for technical assistance in order to address existing barriers to the uptake of renewable energy, and an investment package of $5.1 billion for regional level and country level investments intended to explore and exploit cost-effective indigenous sources of renewable energy options, and to diversify our fuel supply matrix, improve the efficiency with which energy is produced, delivered, and consumed, and to modernize our electricity grids and other energy infrastructure. These project proposals were then, in their entirety, subjected to review by the CCRE Project Preparation Facility, which provides CARICOM member states with project development support through advisory services, technical assistance, and project developer financer matchmaking. The Project Preparation Facility was initially developed to address the challenges faced by CARICOM member states in meeting international, regional, and national energy targets. I want to use this opportunity to urge very respectfully that you continue to bear in mind that while there is a plethora of project plans currently existing in this region, there is a large disconnect between the sustainable energy projects being conceptualized and the volume of untapped capital which is available. The benefit of the Project Preparation Facility approach is that it allows for the collected projects to be meaningfully critiqued and assistance allocated where it perhaps can be most useful. Thus, if we adequately utilize that project facility, when we reconvene with the meeting of our international development partners in the near future, we will be in a better position to re-articulate our objectives and update as to the regional progress made in achieving the region's energy objectives. Another initiative of the Secretariat, in conjunction with the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, includes the creation of a regional energy modeling cluster, which exists as a network of excellence for institutions that are involved in or interested in energy and energy-related systems modeling within CARICOM. I want to invite you to consider the benefits that could redound to us all from reliable and dedicated backstopping of our energy ministries, our energy regulatory authorities, our electric utilities, and other core decision-making entities with responsibility for energy policy, energy planning, and implementation in the CARICOM sphere. The expectation being that this could enhance sector intelligence and capacity and enable a sustainable shift towards data-driven decision-making in relation to energy policy, energy planning, and investments within the region. I assure you, colleagues, that Barbados continues to support these and the other regional efforts specifically intended to wean us all as a region away from an unhealthy dependence on fossil fuels, even as we strive to transform the sector and promote economic enfranchisement for all of our citizens. As host country to a number of the regional organizations, including CICRI, we have time and again proven by words and actions our commitment to the desirability of regional cooperation generally, but especially so when we confront the fact that the needs confronting us collectively are greater than the resources of the individual members. Barbados' singular achievements in the transition of the energy sector away from a dependence on fossil fuels will undoubtedly be highlighted as a component part of the discussions over the course of the next 3 days. However, beyond our national effort, there is a need for a collaborative approach by this region in its efforts to protect the transformation process from being derailed by phenomena like unprecedented volatilities in shipping, disruption of supply chains, logistics, disruptive challenges with obtaining bridging fuels such as natural gas in the desired quantities that we need, and of course, the limited support which is available for the exploitation of our offshore resources. The agenda for the next few days highlights that conversations will be pointed and deliberate, covering areas such as enabling the environment within which we function and enabling the implementation process through sessions dealing with delivering green and blue economies, accelerating sustainable energy deployment, right-sizing regulations for small island electricity systems, deploying clean energy technologies, and fit-for-purpose electricity sector planning. Upon conclusion of this forum, I genuinely hope that the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum would have met its key objectives and would have stimulated not just the dialogue which we in this region are very good at stimulating, but also the implementation of the projects which we have conceptualized and discussed. Projects which we all know will serve as the catalyst needed for our collective growth and the transition of our sectors for our own benefits. As Prime Minister Motley stated in Glasgow, and which I now reiterate, the time has come for us to try even harder. We have to acknowledge that undoubtedly the need to save ourselves is our responsibility, and we cannot rely on the developed world to be heroic for us. We as a people and a region must bear responsibility for saving ourselves. Through efforts aimed at mitigation and adaptation, and with skill sets we must quickly acquire if our future development in energy, transport, and general economic productivity is to continue to be prosperous. With these brief words, ladies and gentlemen, it is hoped that participants can celebrate this evening as we enjoy some socially distanced conversation, some light refreshments, of course, it goes without saying, some very good vintage Barbadian rum, and wonderful weather. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Simmons. I now have pleasure in inviting for closing remarks Dr. Gary Jackson. He is the Executive Director, Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Resilience. Dr. Jackson.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. All protocols established and observed. Minister, thanks for your intervention. Appreciated. DSG, also your intervention and your excellencies. Thank you for your interventions today. Our theme this year, dependence to resilience, fueling our recovery with sustainable energy. You know, my mother always told me, my mother, I should say, bless her, and my wife, that I have a message, but I'm not the messenger. My mother used to say, don't give up, my boy. So no, I am here standing before you, you beautiful people, here and virtually,
to tell you about this message. We are resilient collectively, not separately. We seem to be afraid, or there's a limiting factor that is not causing us to operate in a regional framework. But I believe we'll get there. The great reggae icon, Bob Marley, said, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery." Or emancipation from mental slavery is a very critical one. This is going to be our true independence. Is it the color of our skin that defines us? Is it our accent or the country we are from that defines us? I don't believe that. I believe it's being human that defines us. We're given this trait that's called free will. Give us the freedom to make our choices for a possible course of action, unimpeded. Choices that can have consequences. Are we responsible, and should we be held accountable for the severity of the climate events? We will need to apologize sincerely to our children to start the healing process. They are watching us, and they are holding us accountable. But children, you are going to become adults, and your children will hold you accountable. This is the circle of life. We should not condemn our world to destruction. It is our human capacity that defines our resilience. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC, otherwise called, has made efforts to bring focus to climate change agenda. And in the most recent Conference of Party Dialogue, COP26, countries within the Alliance of Small Island States negotiated for their lives. At least that was my impression, as the slogan is 1.5 to stay alive. This means we, the world, will need to maintain temperatures not to go above 1.5, above in pre-industrial levels. And they say if it goes above this, it's going to be detrimental for our region. We can refer to our recent past: Thomas, Maria, Irma, Dorian, Elsa, to name a few. I know they are very familiar to you, etched in your memory, scarred. I recall in high school, Hurricane Gilbert left us without water and electricity for over 3 months. I used to go to my bed, wiping my feet, because there was water continuously pouring in the house for 3 months. We went to no school for 3 months. I can't imagine what COVID is doing to our children today, not able to have physical connection with their teachers. Citizens of the region, I implore you to pay attention to this. Children, I know you're not shy. We know you have concerns. I implore you, speak to your parents. Students, speak to your teachers. And you, the adults, and the voting public, speak to your constituent representatives on this matter, your governments, your prime ministers. Do not ignore the signs. Mother Earth, as we affectionately called her, do not see color, do not see creed. She does not see borders or political divides like the current global pandemic. And if we refuse to pay attention, she will purge herself and regain some normalcy. And her purging so far has cost us dearly. We are negotiating to stay alive. Some are negotiating economic benefits from the climate crisis. The climate race we need to win. On our current trajectory, based on the recent synthesis report done by the UNFCCC, temperature increase will surpass 2 degrees C, which will result in devastation, mostly for us in the Caribbean and members of the AOSs. Regional prime ministers, premiers, ministers, I gather that bilateral negotiations you have with your international community are important to you, supporting your respective energy programs, among other things. But please, please, I beg you, always view your discussions through negotiations through a regional lens. Please work through, maybe better yet, please work with your regional institutions. You have established them to leverage economies of scale, leveraging our regional human capacity. Did you know we have established thematic hubs across the region for most of the technology we are considering to develop in this region? The University of the West Indies, which most of you may have attended, has 3 thematic hubs. The Cave campus, solar thermal, obviously contributed to our good friend, Mr. Husband. Mona campus, solar PV, and the St. Augustine campus, e-mobility. The OECS Commission, geothermal. The Guyana Energy Agency, hydropower. Wigton Wind Farm, wind. And the Caribbean Community for Climate Change Center, bioenergy, and as you know, as the name suggests, climate change. And at the SECRE, the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, energy efficiency. And to note, we also have regional university network who recently signed, I think 2 years ago, they signed a declaration committing them to work together on emerging technologies, OTEC, offshore wind, hydrogen, the premier energy carrier, among others. Just remember, you are not alone. We are 18.2 million strong. That's approximately the population of CARICOM member states. Did you know the world population just over 2,000 years ago was actually 300 million? And today it's 7.9 billion. To the international community, please see the value in the regional leaders' vision in establishing these regional institutions. And I hope you share this vision. Participate in regional programs for the region, by the region, leaving no man behind. We are trying to protect our lives. I don't think it's asking for a lot. I think it's a reasonable ask. Regional prime ministers, premiers, ministers, citizens of this region, don't get distracted. Don't get separated. Don't be divided and devoured. You are stronger together. Pay attention and let's work together. Dependence to resilience, people and partnership. Our resilience depends on it. Please let our children's hope alive. They are watching us keenly to model the way. Let us walk the talk. Let us demonstrate to infiltrate. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our program, as I also say thanks to you at the head table, the ambassadors, especially our 2021 awardee. Thank you for your life contribution, Mr. Husbands. Those specially invited guests who came out this evening, thank you all. My colleagues from the CARICOM Secretariat and all the hard-working persons around us there, making sure that we were captured and streamed live on the various social media networks. Thank you ever so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please, we invite you now for some libations. I think you go to the left, and your spirits should be lifted with good quality. I think it's called by the lighthouse downstairs there. Yes, Barbados rum? Libations. Thank you ever so much. Enjoy.
distant lands our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play. We relate to each other, the West Indian way. Today as a people united, determined and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon, the future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo, open you sing CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow, naki you drum CARICOM. Tabu ya tabu, awo, open you sing CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo, open your sting CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow. Hele, hele, tabu ya tabu, awo, naki your drum CARICOM. Leve, leve, wow.
Thank you for joining us for the opening ceremony of the 7th Annual Caribbean Sustainable Energy Forum.